Hello again, this is Doug, the 2-Minute Gardener, and this is the first ever Monday mail call where I answer your questions you've sent me regarding several of these videos. So let's get started. Heather was watching the How to Grow Gladiolus video, and she wanted to know, are gladiolas poisonous? And the answer is yes. Gladiolus are poisonous. The most poisonous part of gladiola is the bulb, also known as a corm. If a dog chews on that, they can get sick and get diarrhea. Now, to a lesser extent, the leaves of the gladiolus are also poisonous, and they can also get sick. It's not enough to kill them, but it could cause all kinds of intestinal issues. So keep that in mind where you plant them. Next up, Phil asks, he was watching the top 10 plants for slopes and said, my Ceanothus was fine for a while, but then the leaves turned yellow and the plant started to die. I moved it to a pot. It seems to be recovering, but will it survive in the pot, and when can I put it back on the slope? So Ceanothus, also known as California lilac, is very sensitive to summer watering. California natives are used to just getting water in the winter and then having nice dry summers where they go semi-dormant. So if it's turning yellow on the slope, it means the slope is too soggy, or wherever it was planted. So you want to mix in some garden gypsum and grow power and make that soil a little looser so the oxygen can get through. Whenever the leaves start turning yellow, it means that there's not enough oxygen getting to the root system. So, good question, Phil. Next, Linda was watching the Jackaranda video, and she asks, I want to plant 2 Jacarandas in my small backyard and then build a travertine tile patio around it. But I've heard that Jacaranda roots don't go very deep, and it might make the travertine rise. Is this true? So, Jacarandas are not great trees for compact patio areas because they are very big trees. As you saw in that video, they can get 30 feet wide and 30 feet tall. The question of will it make the travertine rise, that actually has to do more with the quality of the soil. If the soil is really loose and foamy, the roots will go deeper because roots are always seeking the oxygen. And if it's really heavy clay soil, there's not a lot of oxygen down below 2 feet. Roots tend to be a little bit more on the surface. So that one's kind of tricky because it really depends on the quality of soil, Linda, that you have. Now, having said all that, I would go with a smaller tree like a redbud or a crepe myrtle if it is a small patio. Jacarandas are extremely messy trees. They have millions of those little leaves and flowers and seed pods, and they are beautiful, but they are very messy on a patio. So, Linda, I would not use the Jacaranda in a small patio planting area. Go with a redbud or a crepe myrtle. Next up, Orchid 447 says, I love the 90s house music in the background for your video on how to propagate rose-scented geraniums. Where did you find it? That one just came from a free music channel that allows you to use music for YouTube channels. The artist for it is actually in the video description. So Orchid 447, if you love it, you click on that video description and you can see the artist and give them some money and help support them. All right, last question comes from Garrett, who is watching the video Landscape Timbers. How do you determine the angle at which the steps rotate? Now, that's a great question. So the way that I did in that particular video is I determined really where do the steps need to get to from an upper area to a lower area. That is the purpose of steps, is to go from A to B down a slope. So that kind of determines the angle rotating those steps. I took the entire angle and divided it into the 12 or 13 steps that were in that particular section. So that's just a straight math thing. In general, when you are rotating steps down a stairs, you want to keep it below 12 degrees rotation. anything sharper than 12 degrees, and you're going to have a really sharp angle on the step that is so narrow it could represent a tripping hazard. So basically, math determines the maximum angle to rotate stairs going down the steps, but never exceed more than 12 degrees. So there's lots more questions here, but we're definitely over the 2 minutes I like to keep to, so we'll save those for next week. Again, this is Doug, the 2-Minute Gardener, saying keep sending me those questions. Those were great questions. And that's it for another edition of Monday Mail Call. Thanks for watching.